Hey, 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 hey. We're having some good old-fashioned technical difficulties tonight, but it's all good. Listen, you guys come on in the room. Come on in the room. Y'all know how I do. It is time for our monthly mini-series, and I am not letting technical difficulties hold me back tonight, okay? So go ahead. Hey there, Sade. Go ahead and share, and more share. I'm not gonna let this stuff get to me tonight because normally these things would drive me crazy, but not tonight because I will not lose my mind on my way to my next. Okay, so go ahead and come on in, share, and more share. So I'm going to go to my Facebook page and I'm going to share it. And I ask that you guys do the same thing. I'm excited because this is our monthly mini series. We're going to do this every month, excuse me, where we'll have a guest on and we will talk on our specific theme of the month, right? Wednesdays are cool. Having inspirations one day a week is cool, but sometimes we need a little bit more. So tonight, that's what we're doing. This week, that's what we're doing. We are giving more. We are getting more. So let me go ahead and share this out and go ahead and share. Hey there, Aretha, I see you. Hey girl, hey. As you guys are coming in, you already know to say what up to your girl. Now don't look at nothing else. Just keep your eyes stayed on me, okay? Because I'm having some technical difficulties tonight, but it's okay. It's all good. It is all good. So there we go. I've shared it. So make sure you're sharing. Yes, come on, Shade. Pushing past technical difficulties. We are because, excuse me, I'm always prepared to be flexible. So that works out for me. Okay. All right. So for those of you who do not know who I am, my name is Dia, and I am your power pusher. I am here to help you pray, pursue, and persist until something happens. I am also your self-awareness coach. I believe that we just don't know enough about ourselves, which is probably holding us back a little bit. So once we can figure out our blind spots, once we can figure out our even potential, once we can figure out what's going on with us, we will go ahead and be moved to the next level, right? I believe that, I heard that your success is heavily based on your self-awareness. So in this season, I'm going to make sure we know who we are. Somebody type in, I know who I am. Okay. Okay, all right. I am also your faith in action mentor. I am always jumping out on a limb, whether it goes right or if it goes wrong, I'm still going to jump out on that limb and I'm going to influence you and, excuse me, encourage you to do the same because faith is an action word. So if you're not doing something, listen. God is sitting back waiting on you, right? So I'm your faith in action mentor. More than anything, I'm your homegirl with one dimple, some cute, and a whole lot of God, right? That's who I am. That's what I do. And I want to welcome y'all to the first night of the mini series. Listen, tomorrow will be a little bit more smooth. I was trying to get things together. I had a long wedding weekend. For those of you that do not know, by day, I am a wedding planner and coordinator. And this was wedding weekend. It was beautiful. We saw a lot of love, but it was a lot of stuff. But I'm here, right? I'm here. Somebody, if you are ready for our content tonight, somebody type in next. Go ahead and type that in. I know normally we type in push, but if we are ready for this mini series, I want you guys to type in next. Hey there, Camille, I see you. Hey there, Tracy, I see you. Go ahead and type in next. Next. All month, we are talking about next. I'm next. Prepared for next. Get ready for next. Going to next. It's all about the next. Listen, as we are moving from August to September, and as we go to September, we're on the last end of 2020. So we are ready for next year. We are ready for our next chapter. Come on, we're ready for the next. We're ready for the next page. We're ready for our next season. We're ready for our next dimension. It is time for us to be ready for next. Somebody type in, I'm next. Yeah, earlier this month, I talked about how I had a vision of us being at the DMV. And some of us, we have our number in hand and we are ready to throw the number down, not knowing that your number is about to be called next. I believe that a lot of us are right next to our next, and we can possibly be growing weary. We're getting tired. It seems hopeless. It seems dark and there's no light at the end of the tunnel. But I am here to encourage you this entire week and this entire month that you are indeed that next. Somebody type in next. Next. And so I'm very, very, very excited about the guests that we have on tonight. With all of these mini series, I'm making sure that I am not just empowering and just giving you guys my opinion and amping you up without giving you the how. Okay, so in this moment, in this season, I know that you know why, right? I know you know what, but this time I'm telling you how. Somebody type in secret sauce. Yeah. There's a lot of that going on, I feel like, in social media. And I just want to make sure that I actually solve the problem. And so as we do these monthly mini series, we will always have on an actual doctor to help us get through the mental, because a lot of the times, no matter what you're doing, we got to make sure that our mind is right. We have to make sure that our heart is right. We have to make sure that we are getting past the trauma that we've been through. Okay. So tonight's guest, excuse me, is the beautiful, awesome. She's such an amazing soul. Somebody put your hands together for Miss, no, not even Miss, listen, for Dr. Sarissa Hughie. Come on, y'all, put your emoji hands together for her. Come on, put your hands together. All right.
Hi, everybody. Hi.
Hey.
I feel excited just being here, just listening to you talk really got me pumped up. And I was just thinking about how the fact that I'm a kind of a mellow person and how much energy you have. And I just wish I had some of that energy. But I am honored to be here. Thank you so much, Dia, for having me.
Oh my goodness, I'm excited to have you. Firstly, let's talk about those beautiful bundles of joy. Oh my goodness. So Dr. Sarissa has two babies. She just had twins and they're so adorable.
They're beautiful. 4 months old. And awesome. We just started teething. So that's been a fun stage. It's a blessing. Actually, today is the day that we went through IVF. For those of you who know about my fertility journey of 12 years, today is actually the anniversary of the day we went through IVF and conceived those little bundles. So I am extra grateful tonight. Yes.
So beautiful. That is so beautiful. Now, go ahead and tell us a little bit about yourself and tell us about Healthy Mind Spaces.
Sure, Dia. So I'm Dr. Sarissa Hughie. I'm a psychiatric mental health nurse practitioner, and I teach people how to cultivate and create healthy mind spaces. And what are mind spaces, as Dia asked? They're internal and external. The internal mind spaces are our thought processes, our mental habits, our perceptions, and our emotions. And I'll talk a little bit more about that as we get into our discussion. Our external mind spaces are our relationships, our routines, and our living and work spaces. And those, the internal and the external, have to be aligned in order to maximize the expression of who you are. And I'll give you an example. You can go to therapy and you can be on fire and you can gain all these tools. But if the people that you surround yourself with are negative, or if you're going back home to an abusive relationship, then you're still going to be stuck in that same unhealthy place. So that's why it's important to focus on both the internal and the external. Oftentimes, we want to do one or the other. And creating healthy mind spaces, cultivating and creating healthy mind spaces is very important, as you talked about, for the next, because we have to deal with the now. We have to do the work. We have to create a healthy soil. The environment of our lives have to be healthy enough to be able to sustain what God is trying to do next. And so I don't want to take away the thunder of the next, but I really want to talk about the here and now so that we can prepare ourselves for the next. And I give the analogy of a farmer often no matter what crop he's going to plant, he has to till the ground, use fertilizer. He has to create an environment that's going to allow that seed to grow. So my question tonight is, what is the current environment in your life, and how is it preparing you for next?
Woo! Girl, that's a whole word right there.
Right.
What is your environment? And somebody type this in. Is your environment preparing you for next?
Absolutely.
Is your current environment preparing you for next? I love that. Because I am a firm believer that we have to do the work now in order for next, which is why we're doing this series right now for next month. I just believe every step. I believe that every step that we take, we have to do work right here before next. Like every move, you're in the first grade preparing for second grade. You're at the first stop preparing for the next stop. So it is so important to do the work right now. Somebody type in, do it now.
Do it now. And I think it's interesting because most of us, we either are living in the past or we're looking to the future, which is important to be hopeful about the future. But we do that oftentimes to a fault because we're not living in the here and now. We're not preparing so that when the next happens, we lose it because we can't. So that's very important. That's hugely important for the next.
That is so good. So good. I was literally just thinking that earlier today. I thought about Paul. I believe it was Paul who said, he talked about being content in where you are now. And so sometimes we're looking so far into the future, or we're stuck in the past, exactly like you said. We're stuck in the past, or we're looking so far in the future that we forget, first of all, about the blessings right now. We forget about the opportunities right now. We forget about, even right now in this current climate, as, things are kind of lifting, we forget about that moment in isolation where you had time to do things. You had time to finish. You had time to start. You had time to fertilize. You had time to till the ground. You had time to recharge. And so make sure that we are here in the now. Somebody type in now. We have to appreciate the now. One thing that you just said that I loved was how the external and the internal, they have to align. I believe that a lot of us, we do a lot of, or we at least try to do internal work. We try to make sure, let me go ahead and meditate in the morning. Let me say my prayer in the morning. Let me do my affirmations in the morning. But we're still in the same environment. So we're still with the same people, and we're still just surrounded by the exact same. So I love how you said they both have to be aligned in order for it to happen.
Yes. You have to surround yourself with the right people. You have to create certain routines in your life in order to be able to, again, sustain those things that we're working towards. And then our living space, so cleanliness, things that we have in our environment, our physical space, and even our workspace. So all of those things have to line up. And it's important what you said about affirmations and doing the internal work, but really the external is really a manifestation of what is happening on the inside.
Oh my goodness, that was so good. So today, and I just told you this a little while ago, I already knew what I was going to talk about. Let's be clear. So I already knew where I was going and what I was going to talk about. But just like always, God dropped something in my spirit. And so he dropped in my spirit, I will not lose my mind on my way to next. Can somebody type in, I will not lose my mind on my way to next? This has been a very trying year.
Yes, it has.
And it's crazy because it hasn't been trying on a couple people like it usually seems. Do you know what I mean? It seems like it's trying on this set of people, but not that set of people. This year it's been trying on the entire nation.
Mm-hmm.
not just one person. And so, I was just thinking how so many people are going through so many changes that it will possibly make you lose your mind just from worrying, from
Mm-hmm.
from worrying about these big issues and, kind of ignoring small issues. What
Mm.
is your take on that?
Yeah, so I mean, COVID-19 has definitely changed the landscape and the face of the entire planet, obviously, and it has created challenges that we did not anticipate or foresee.
Mhm.
When you're getting ready to experience a challenge, sometimes you can kind of feel it coming. You can kind of perceive, oh, this might not be going right before it comes, but this sort of hit us out of nowhere
Mhm,
and kind of
mhm.
knocked us off of our feet, so to speak. And so, certainly, there's been a rise in mental health challenges, not just for people who already struggle with mental health issues,
Right.
but just for the normal person. For the everyday person, there's a lot of fear. Obviously, there's a lot of anxiety,
Mhm.
depression that can come from being socially isolated, things that we just never thought we would have to experience, we're experiencing as a result of this season. And so I think it's important, and we'll
Mhm.
talk a little bit about this in a second, to really acknowledge those feelings and acknowledge those fears. You talked earlier, Dia, about being self aware. And I think so often we want to breeze past the negative emotions, the fear,
Mhm.
the challenges. We
Mhm.
don't want to live in that discomfort. We don't want to be uncomfortable. But really, it's through those
Right, right.
uncomfortable moments that we learn so much about who we are as people, that we learn about our relationships. We learn about everything that encompasses us as a result of difficulties and challenges. And so, again, rather than trying to run away from those things, I think it's important for us to feel that discomfort and really acknowledge it without judgment.
Yeah.
That's the key. That's
Without.
the key. Yeah, without judgment. There's this concept that I talk a lot about called emotional vulnerability. And I
Mm.
really believe it's the key to mental and emotional wellness. What I often tell my patients, even though I prescribe medicine that helps people, with their mental health, what I often tell them is, I don't have a magic pill that's just going to fix your life, right?
Right, right.
Things that are challenging are supposed to be challenging, and things that are exciting and fulfilling, they're supposed to be exciting and fulfilling. And so that is part of the beauty of the human experiences, is that we go through highs and we go through lows, and we learn to grow from those things. There's this concept called post-traumatic growth.
Mhm.
So after you experience something traumatic, which I think we're all in the midst of this crisis, it's experiencing some type of trauma as a result of even the racial climate in this country, the
Mhm.
political climate. I mean, all of these things that are happening in
At
addition
once.
to COVID-19. Yes. In addition to all of those things, we're experiencing this trauma, right?
Yeah.
So how can we reframe, experience the mourning, experience the grief, mourn that which we are going to lose or that which we have lost, but then how can we reframe and go from mourning to motivation?
Mhm.
How can we reframe, rethink, reassess this season of our lives as being really a season of preparing us for what is next? What have we learned about our relationships? What have we learned about being intentional about staying connected with other people?
Mhm.
And so the question that I ask people often is, what is your COVID gift?
Ah,
What have you been given as a result of COVID-19? Parents who are spending lots of time with your children that you have never had
yep.
to spend with them. What have you seen in your child that you didn't notice before?
Mhm.
That was beautiful. What have you learned about that loved one that you have been quarantined with for however long? So what is your COVID gift?
Correct.
In the midst of the chaos, what is the one positive or two positive or however many positives that you can assess and that you can grab a hold to that can help get you through this season?
I love that. I love that. And that is my take when it comes to this whole season. But I've been trying. So just to be clear for everyone who's watching, I have been working on this. I have been working on this. I can remember in the past, I would think about the whole world and kind of trying to solve the whole issue.
Mhm.
I don't know what's going on with my throat. Let me get a drink. Some water. But I was trying to solve the whole world issue, and I would literally get depressed. And
Yeah.
so what I started to do was stop thinking about the whole world and start thinking about myself. And so
Yeah.
that's kind of where I started to practice. How can I be better? Why do I feel this way? First of all, it's okay to feel this way. And then why do
Mhm.
I feel this way? And then how can I get past? So I practiced for a long time to kind of see the beauty in every situation, good, bad, ugly, or indifferent. To
Yeah.
see the
Yeah.
beauty. So I love that. What is your COVID gift? I mean,
Mhm.
for a lot of us, this is the most time that we've had, that we've been given
Yeah.
time to spend with our children. If you are a single mom like me, you work all day. You're tired when you get home, and so this is a moment where we kind of have time. Let's do movie night. We have time. Let's
Yeah.
cook something together. Let's play some board games. And so I love that, the COVID gift. And so at this time, what I want you to do is kind of give us how you talked about rethinking and reframing. I want you to give us some tips and tricks on how to do that.
How? Okay, yeah. I'm happy to do that. So, I said that we were going to talk a little bit about this. So I want to give you 4 steps. And if you are taking notes, then you can write down the letters MYND. That's the way that I spell Mindspace, which is the name of my company. If you could write down MYND, and then we're going to talk a little bit about these steps. The first step we really have already talked about. The letter M stands for mindfulness. And we've already talked about having that complete emotional vulnerability and allowing ourselves to feel emotions. Now, this is the caveat, though. This is not a pity party. This is
Mm.
not a woe is me, I'm awful. But it is really an acknowledgement that this situation is great or this situation sucks. I mean, it's just the reality. There's no rationalization, removing all judgment. And then the 3 A's, which actually, Dia, you already talked about. What am I feeling in this moment? Assessing, what is the challenge that I'm facing right now? But then analyzing who and what is the source. How deep is the wound? And the reason why that's important, because that determines the steps that you need to take going forward.
Mm.
Yeah. So the next step is yielding to the process. And we've already talked a lot about this as well. And this is embracing the experience and all that comes with it. So embracing the pain, experiencing it, having the ability to sit with sadness, to sit with uncertainty without necessarily trying to fix it.
Ah,
That's key.
that's good.
Yeah, that's key, because the first thing that we want to do when we're experiencing a challenge is fix it.
Yeah.
And I think really we have to accept that pain is a part of our lives. But our rush to fix it causes us oftentimes to miss the lessons that we are supposed to learn from the challenges that we are facing.
Wow. Wow.
So embracing the difficulties in the areas of opportunity that come with the difficult season. So being okay with the messiness of life. And that's really how we can learn from our experiences, because we don't want it to be perfect all the time. It doesn't have to be perfect. We're asking questions like, what can I learn from this? And what has this revealed to me?
Mm-hmm.
And then the next step in would be next steps. Consider your options for moving forward. And what this looks like is, who needs to be a part of the conversation? Do I need to create a better support system? What resources do I need? What kind of routines, what kind of habits do I need to create in my life that will allow me to overcome this challenge or not experience this type of challenge again? Do I need to set better boundaries, relationship boundaries? Do I need to create systems and processes in my life? What are the new strategies that I need to incorporate? Do I need to get professional help?
Right.
Is huge. And that depends on the level of the insult. And so you're considering all of the options based on the challenges that you have faced. And then the last thing is D, decision to act. And so that is taking the necessary steps, not only to heal, but also to maintain. So you need to develop a plan and execute that plan. And then, this is important, accountability. Putting accountability in place so that you can, give a few people permission to check on you, a few people permission to ask you, did you do such and such? Creating a list or whatever it is that you need to do to hold yourself accountable. And I think I spoke very generally, but I really believe that it applies to various aspects of our lives.
Yes, I love that. So if you're taking notes, write this down. What are the steps? How do I get myself together? How do I prepare mentally? So the first step is mindfulness. So write that down. M is for mindfulness. Y is for yield, to hurry up and fix. Slow down.
Yes.
That life is messy. Be prepared to be flexible. That's another thing that I had to learn how to do. Even in this case, everything is not perfectly perfect, but I'm like, okay, I'm going to go anyway. We have to have I'm going to do it anyway type of spirit, whether it's right, whether it's wrong, whether it's perfect. We have to learn how to go and grow.
Yeah.
How to grow and go. I think we have it backwards. We want everything perfect and everything in the right place, but that's not how the world works. That's not how life works. And that's surely not how my God works. God doesn't work that way. He usually blesses you in the midst of everything being crazy, and he'll give you a revelation in that thing. So we have to accept. So slow down with trying to fix everything. That was good to me. The N is for next steps. What do I do now? Which route do I take? So now I am mindful of what's going on, and I didn't hurry up and try to fix it. So now what steps do I take? Do I need help? Do I need to go here? Who do I need to talk to? How do I go about it? And the last one is to make a decision. Somebody type in, make a decision.
Amen.
You have got to make a decision. Making no decision is a decision to stay there. Come on.
Yeah.
So that is, oh my goodness, that is so good. And so I talked about earlier about losing your mind. I believe that at one point, I know that it was a couple different times that God really came in and scooped me up because I was literally about to lose it. And I felt myself about to lose it. I was so sad. I was so, at one point I was so sad. Another point is because I was overwhelmed. So these are two kind of completely different situations, but I felt the same. I was about to lose it. I was done. I was done with this thing called life. I was done with it all. And then even when I was overwhelmed, I guess I didn't know how to get out of it. And I was so overwhelmed that I was about to lose it. What can you say to someone who is watching us and they are not here yet? They're not mindful yet. The past is just too hard to deal with. They're right at that point, that breaking point of about to lose it. What would you tell them, or how would you help them to stay on, or how would you encourage them to do what they need to do?
The first thing I would say is get help. You need to talk to someone, and I'm not even necessarily talking about professional help. I'm just talking about help, letting someone know that you need help, which is important, like that you are losing a grip on things. It's very important because so often we hide in the shadows, and we want to do it alone. And when you are in a state where you're that emotionally overwhelmed, you are not rational.
Mm-hmm.
Only thoughts that you have to mirror or reflect off of are your own. So by bringing another perspective into the situation, by letting someone know that you need help, that person being a sounding board for you, you being able to talk out loud and describe what is happening to you is critical because that externalizes the problem. Because if you keep it inside, then you can implode. That's what that overwhelming feeling feels like, that extreme sadness or that extreme anxiety. It can cause you to feel like you're at a breaking point. But being able to externalize and get it out somewhere, I think is key and important. You need a lifeline if it's that bad. You absolutely need a lifeline. You cannot do it alone. So that would be my encouragement. And when you're dealing with trauma, sometimes you have to take it in bits and pieces. You can't always heal from trauma all at one time. The way that I describe the process of healing from trauma, many people, if you've ever had surgery, I've had surgery. When you go to do trauma therapy or you start to deal with traumatic events that have happened in your life, depending on the severity of that trauma, it's really like having surgery. It's like being cut open. And the hard part is not necessarily when they cut you open. That's the difficult part. As it's difficult, but really the hard part is the recovery after the surgery. When you have to do those therapies, those muscles have to heal, the wound has to heal. That's really what I describe trauma therapy as, and really going in and dealing with those traumatic events. And so sometimes you have to do it in bits and pieces. Sometimes the cancer, the infection has spread so much that they can't do all of the surgery at one time. They have to do this part first and then do the other part first. So sometimes you can only handle certain pieces of that, and you have to be self-aware, aware of what you can handle. And you may have to compartmentalize and say, okay, I can't deal with that right now. I have to come back to that.
I love that. I love that. I say that often. I feel like, and so just so you know, so a lot of people who kind of watch me and follow me, we have, suffered abuse, whether it's physical, sexual, verbal, emotional abuse. And usually in that process and that type of trauma, it really is piece by piece. And I say that because that's how my practice has been. It's like, so first I was self-aware. That's kind of the first thing that happened. First I saw that something was wrong and I just wanted to see why, and so I had a lot of questions. And then so I went from that to kind of digging up some things and dealing with one area, and then digging up some things and dealing with another area. It's almost like my focus went from one thing to another thing. So I love that, that is actually kind of what needs to happen, like piece by piece, instead of just trying to be this whole person. Is there a such thing as like a whole perfect? Is there such thing?
Absolutely not.
Normal. And there's,
Yeah, I mean, healing is a lifelong journey. I mean, this is mental and emotional wellness, I always say, is a lifelong journey. And sometimes it's not until you get into new situations that you realize that this is a trigger for you, or you get in this kind of relationship and you realize that, oh, this is an area I still need healing from. So you may not even be aware of certain wounds that you have. But as those things, come to your mind, and as you become more aware of them, then you can deal with, because you're peeling back those layers piece by piece. And, the Bible says that we go from faith to faith, right, from glory to glory. So it's a process. It's a little step by step, day by day. The point is to be engaged in the process and not to check out.
I love that. I love that. Somebody type in, be engaged. Be engaged in the process. Be engaged in what's going on. This is just such an awesome conversation. I love talking. Obviously, I love to encourage and make people feel good and make people laugh. But I just know that there's such an underlining thing that we all kind of deal with and that we're all trying to get over. And so I just love I love talking about how we feel.
Mhm.
I love tearing down that thought that we have to be perfect. I love tearing down the thought that we have to be completely healed. Like that's not a thing either. Just because
Mhm.
you see us performing, or just because you see us out here on in the front, or doing whatever it is that we're doing, it doesn't mean that we're perfect or that everything is great. It just means that we made the decision to keep going and let God keep doing the work. Do you know what
Amen.
I mean? So I love
Yeah.
tearing down that thought.
Yeah. Yeah.
I love that. I love that. So we have about 15 minutes left. I wanted to give you, and I don't know if you already went over what you had to go over.
Yeah, well, maybe people have questions. I don't know how you normally
Okay.
do.
All
Yeah.
right. So in this moment, if you do have questions, go ahead and type them in, so that we can go ahead and ask the question so that we can get an answer for you. It is tough out here during COVID-19, even as the world is starting to open up. It has been a tough couple of months. And I want to make sure that you know that it's okay to not be okay. And I want to make sure that you are okay to move on to next.
Yeah.
That part. So I want to make sure that you know it's okay that you're not okay, but I want you to be well enough to walk into your next. I want you to be well
Mm.
enough to get to enjoy your next. Some of us are so stuck in the past, or we're so, we're so overwhelmed, or we're so traumatized that we can't see where we are. Like you said earlier, we can't see the now. We
Mm.
can see the blessing in the now. And so I want to make sure that we're good, so that we can get to next and be great there.
Yeah.
So Vicky, this is actually my cousin and I love her. She said, how do you begin to practice mindfulness? This is so good. Thank you for asking.
So mindfulness is really being present in the moment. And so you can take 5 minutes a day, or however many minutes a day that you may have, and you can just sit and think about everything that's in the environment. Think about your feelings. Think about what's going on. It's really just being aware of everything that is happening right now, in the moment, not really thinking about what's going to happen tomorrow or even what happened yesterday, but being present in the moment. And that is difficult,
Mhm.
because we are we're busy. We're thinking about, okay, I got to do this today. I have to do all of these things. But how can we stay present in the moment? And I just challenge you to do that. I challenge myself to do that. Even with, 4-month-old twins, and having a busy schedule, just being present in the moment, and enjoying them, enjoying what's happening right in that moment.
I love that. I love that. Now, is that meditation?
It can be meditation. It can be prayer. It can be that, but it doesn't have to be.
Okay.
It could just be, I'm sitting here right now, in this chair, and I'm talking to these people. And, I'm not thinking about the fact that, my husband is sitting over there and my kids are in the room sleeping, and what are they doing? But really staying present with Dia, and everyone that's here, really staying present with you all. It's a simple concept, but it's very
Right.
difficult for us to do.
Okay, that is really good. Mindfulness. Be present in the moment. Be pregnant. Be present. I didn't mean.
Yes, pregnant.
I didn't mean to say pregnant. I mean
With
be present. Okay, let me see. Is mindfulness being aware of how you are feeling and why at any given time?
Yes. And sometimes that takes a little bit of discovery, right? Because you might be feeling frustrated or agitated, and you may not be able to identify the source right away.
Mhm.
It could be because you didn't get enough rest. It could be because the cashier at Publix, upset you. It could be a number of things, but really it is the awareness of feelings, and just that discovery of, like, what's going on with me?
Mhm.
Asking yourself those difficult questions, because we can't control how we feel necessarily. but we can always control how we react and how we respond.
That's good.
So if you are more self-aware of what's happening on the inside of you, then you have a choice then of how you can respond. You can choose not to snap at your children, even though you are frustrated, or you can choose, even though you're exhausted, you can choose not to snap at your spouse or say that unkind thing to that person. You have a choice then over your behavior, even though you may feel a certain way. But if you're not in tune with your feelings, then you're reckless. I mean, you have no control because you have no idea what's going on with you.
Right, right. So what just came to mind, what if, and I feel like this is the case a good majority of the times. So you're trying to defy odds. You're going against the grain. You are doing all of these different things. How do you change your environment? First of all, without offending, or how do you change your environment to match where you're trying to go? How do you do it, but you're defying odds? So that means nobody's going with you. That means that you're the only one who feels this way.
Yeah. That certainly is challenging. So you mean the environment in terms of the people that you're connected to, the external, that's what you're talking about, the relationships and the people. And sometimes we have to be creative. Thank goodness we're in a virtual age.
Yes.
Because we can read books, we can listen to podcasts, we can find people like Tia Patterson, we can find groups, we can find other support systems, because sometimes in terms of our relationships, we put demands on a relationship that is not designed to handle. These people don't even have the capacity to give you the environment that you need to be successful. So then you have to find it. Whatever that looks like, which can be challenging for sure. But I'm certain that if you talk to many people who have come from, difficult family situations, they tell you there was one person, there was a teacher, there was a coach, there was somebody that they found that, and when you find those people that see what God is trying to do in you, then you pray about, where do I go, God? Who, because you might have a virtual mentor, you might have somebody you never met, but you listen to Michelle Obama's book, or you watch Dia's Power Push every week, and it changed your life, it changed your perspective.
I love that. I love that. That is so true. That is actually exactly what happened to me over and over and over again. There was a person, there was someone, I can remember in high school, which is, I feel like when it first happened, I had a teacher who just saw potential in me that I didn't see yet. And so it's possible that you are trying to be isolated, or you're not being vulnerable enough, but there is someone around you who sees who you are. And that's where self-awareness comes in. We don't exactly know who we are. We don't see our gift. We don't see our gifting. We don't know that it's there. But people around you do see, whether they're trying to hold you still or push you forward. There are people around you that see and that even know that they're assigned to take you there. They even know that. But if you're not accepting, or if you won't let them, then, so sometimes it's about being emotionally vulnerable enough to let someone in to help you get to next, especially trying to change your environment and you don't know how.
It's challenging, especially if it's family.
So Sherlonda Atkins asks, when should medication be initiated?
Oh, that's an interesting question, Sherlonda. Because really it's a personal choice. For a lot of people, I am a full proponent and an advocate for medication. But what I would say is, the short answer is that if you've done all the quote unquote natural things, that you felt like if you're not a proponent of medication and you feel like it's a last option rather than a first option, if you've done all the natural things, if you've done the right sleep hygiene, if you've gone to therapy, if you've talked to your friends, and you just really believe that you can't get past this mental space that you are in, then I would certainly reach out sooner rather than later, for sure. But yeah, I believe that if you're struggling, right, if you're having suicidal thoughts, or if you're hopeless, if you feel like you don't want to go on, you can pray. But faith is an action word, and I often say, faith without works is dead. So, medication is a tool that I believe that God has given us, just like other tools and resources that He's given us. So sooner rather than later. And it doesn't have to be a permanent thing. It could just be a gift to get you through a certain season in your life. But in some cases, it may be an ongoing thing. There are chemical imbalances and things that happen as a result of trauma or life situations. And the medications are very useful in helping to restore those chemical imbalances. And I have seen it change people's lives. I have seen it, thank God, snatch people from death, from psychosis. I mean, a number of things, the medication can be useful.
Mm-hmm. I think that is probably the case when it comes to, I guess, the conversation or even debate, even with medication. Is it permanent, or is it just kind of band-aiding what the issue is? Or is there a way to take medication and get through therapy or go to counseling and kind of work your way off?
Yeah, I've seen it happen. Yeah, I've seen it happen over and over, but I also see people, what I say, or my recommendation is that, people stay on their medications for 6 months to a year, and they're stable on their medication, and then we gradually wean off and see how they do, as opposed to just stopping cold turkey. That way you are under the supervision of a medical provider who can help walk you through it. But I fully support when my patients tell me that they want to come off of their medication. In some cases, I may not recommend it. But if they say that that's what they want to do, then we kind of start that process. Sometimes they're good. Sometimes a few months in, they say, no, I need to stay on my medication. And so either way, I don't think it's a right or wrong. Again, I believe that it's a resource and a tool that God has given us. And I think our understanding that the brain is an organ that can malfunction, just like a stomach, a liver, a heart, a lung, and people are really open to taking medications when other organs malfunction. But when the brain malfunctions, then there is, this reservation, so to speak. But it can be helpful. And oftentimes when I have people that start medication, they say, why didn't I do this years ago? Like, this has completely changed my life. It's helped me be able to function in so many areas. I mean, it can be a night and day when you're on the right medication.
Okay. So in the next 4 minutes, we have 4 minutes. In the next 4 minutes, how can you help us? Or really, it's just kind of like your final words in preparing for next, mentally and emotionally. Go ahead, take it away, and help us to prepare for next.
Boy, that's a tall order. But I will say it's really been my privilege and my honor to be here tonight. I just consider it such a gift to be able to share with people what God has given me to share. But I really want to go back to the emotional vulnerability piece and just really in terms of the relationship that we have with God, our Father, because I think that this is what all of this is about, right?
It's about,
it's about Him. It's about Jesus. Don't get it twisted. This is what it's about, our relationship with Jesus Christ. But John 4 talks about God being a spirit, and those that worship Him must worship Him in spirit and in truth. And I think often as believers, we are so focused on the spirit and prayer and doing all of these things, which is important, but where we miss it is the truth. And if we are able to be honest, that's the key, and be naked with our Father who loves us, who sent His only Son to die for us. If we're able to do that, then truly we can experience healing and fulfillment in Him. And so that's my conversation tonight. Maybe you have built up walls. Maybe you have, because of things that have happened to you, maybe you find it difficult. Maybe you're a part of a faith community that does not encourage you to be authentic in your emotional state, but wants you to just pray and speak in tongues so you feel alone. But I'm here tonight to tell you that you are not alone, that God loves you, and He is standing with His arms open wide if you would just tell Him that you're hurting. And so that is my message tonight. That is your first step, telling God that you're hurting, being vulnerable and naked before Him. And I promise you, He will direct you the next place you should go for your healing.
Oh my goodness, that was so beautiful. Come on, somebody, put your hands together for Dr. Sarissa Hughey. Oh, that was so amazing. I love that. So step number 1 is be honest.
Yeah.
Oh God, that you're hurting.
Mm-hmm.
So that He can lead you to the next steps.
Yeah. That's what He can work with. He can work with that.
You can work with that. We know sometimes, I know it's not really a scripture, but we say it all the time. People are so heavily minded that they're no earthly good. I know it's not really a scripture, but sometimes that could be the case.
Mm-hmm.
You are so spiritual and you're putting a spiritual antidote on something that is actually natural. And so we want to make sure that we have good balance. But at the same time, we're still saying, no, go to God. But God is going to tell you something actually pretty practical to do. Yeah. He's going to say, tell me all about it. And earlier you talked about having a sounding board. And sometimes when you don't have anybody to talk to, it's just good to say it out of your mouth. Yeah. When you don't know who to turn to, sometimes it's just good to get it out of you. And to be honest, when you're doing that, you're giving it to God. He is going to direct you in the next place to go. So He'll help you. He'll help you even be mindful because He'll show you this is actually what happened. He'll take you to the root of the problem. And He'll say, okay, here we are. Dig it up. Just give it to Him. I love that. I love that. I love that. I wanted to go through the comments really quick. Tracy, Pastor Tracy, right?
That's him.
That's him. So he said, is that to say that you don't necessarily change your environment, but gain external energy to infuse into those situations? And yes, that's what you're doing. You are gaining external energy, and that'll help you. You don't necessarily need to. I believe that's what he's saying. Is that what he's saying?
Yeah, I'm trying to understand the question.
Be mindful and you connect with people that help you get through these times. So you don't, even if you're like in a toxic situation at your house, so you can't really change that because that's where you live.
Right.
But you like you said, get videos and listen to.
Yes.
You gain energy, so you can take that back and survive.
And infuse it into your situation. Yeah.
That's good. That was awesome. And then Kelvin Troy Johnson said, medication is like hair dye. You may not like having to keep using it, but it keeps you looking good and feeling good. Thank you. That was good. That's awesome. That is so true. Listen, guys, I want to thank you guys so much for joining us with night 1. Somebody type in night 1.
Night 1.
Our monthly mini series, and this mini series is simply themed next. Somebody type in I'm next.
Next.
This time when we go to next, we're going to be prepared for it. We're going to be properly prepared for it. And we cannot be properly prepared if we do not talk about what's going on in here. And here. So I want to thank you so much for being our first guest on tonight. You're so awesome. You're so beautiful. And I pray many blessings for you and your family.
So are you. I just want to pronounce a blessing over you. I want to pronounce a blessing over you and what you're doing. May the Lord bless you and keep you. May he turn his face towards you and give you peace. May he multiply the fruit of your harvest and what you're doing for so many women that you're connected to, and may he sustain you and give you strength for your journey. And I believe that he's going to do awesome and great things through you. So thank you for having me.
Amen. Now, did you hear that last part? If you want to sing, you can. See, what y'all don't know is that she is an amazing songstress, and she sings so beautifully.
I'm good. But if we look, shameless plug at Grace Place Ministries. If you want to hear me sing, we're at 4246 Savannah Highway.
Awesome.
In Ravenel. If you want to come out, we have outdoor services with social distancing right now. So if you want to come out and see us, we'd love to have you.
I love it. I love it. Thank you so much for coming on tonight. Make sure you guys, first of all, if you're just joining, check out the replay. Make sure you put in #replay. Go ahead and check that out. And we'll see you guys tomorrow night, the same time, 9 p.m. nightly. Well, we have another guest tomorrow night. We'll have Miss Rashonda Pratt. And so I'm excited to talk to her. Listen, this time we will be prepared for our next. I love you guys. Have a great night.
Night.
Peace. There you go.